right, Tim, let's jump right into it. Here we go. Welcome back. I'm Dan Item. Businesses are always trying to stay ahead of the competition while constantly managing rapid change and driving innovation. In today's business environment, it's the early adopters of new strategies that drive smart organizations to succeed. They're challenging the traditional ways work is done, embracing new leadership approaches, and aligning strategy with execution. Now, given this constantly evolving business climate, we've got an expert today. Tim Wasserman is here to reveal the top business strategy execution trends for 2016. And Tim, appreciate you joining us. Let's jump right into it and talk about those new trends that are evolving in our current business environment.
Well, it's a pleasure to be here, Dan. And I think, as we all know, there's some macro trends that are occurring out, regardless of whether you're in a big business or smaller business, around big data and security, certainly kind of a global versus localization issues, and really the rate of change. The three that really jump out at us, though, as we look at how organizations are responding to this rapidly changing world and these more unpredictability, is really looking at being more flat and lean, if you will, needing individuals, the people in the organizations, whether at a leadership level or at the front line level, to think more agilely, to look at practices that allow them to be able to make decisions more rapidly, really pushing decision-making out to the fringe. That's one of the key trends that we're seeing this year.
Tim, obviously some companies very successful, some not so successful. What are the ones that are doing well? What are they doing that sets them apart from others?
You know, in many cases, in order to push that decision-making, if you will, out, it's empowering is a word that's been used a lot over the years. But really what it has to do with building the connections for individuals. They help both create a vision or that ideation of who they are and what their longer-range intent is, but then through some really practical things in terms of asking people to create. They focus a lot, actually, on both the culture and the structure of their organizations, because it's easy to talk about asking people to take risks and make decisions where they haven't necessarily been expected to. But unless you have the environment that supports that, you're not going to get very far, and it's not going to continue. There's some wonderful examples of big and small companies that create this culture. I mean, in terms of one that we hear a lot about, certainly I'm from the San Francisco Bay Area, and Facebook, as we're all aware of, gets a lot of press. But it's not about free meals and bringing your pet to work. What they really do is they have a real focus on creating an environment from the day someone starts that makes it very clear that what they're about and what individuals should be doing is being willing to take risks. It's focusing unwaveringly on the customer, but what they do is they give people responsibility from day one to actually make a difference and to implement their work. And it's a very powerful message to individuals, whether you're new or whether you're in an organization currently.
Tim, you talk about Facebook and kind of the different companies that are maybe concentrating more on the wants and the needs of their employers. That kind of is a new trend, and sounds good on my end. Certainly wouldn't mind my company doing the same thing.
It's interesting. Another trend that certainly we're seeing is more and more millennials are in the workforce and becoming, in the next 5 years, will actually be the majority, the largest population within a workforce. Certainly there's a lot that's being talked about in terms of leading that particular group, in terms of this pushing responsibility to the edges, making the connection between the espoused kind of vision or view. Again, whether it's a small business or a large business, why are you there? Who are you there for? But being able to connect the dots so people can see that the work that they're doing has an immediate impact. But what we're also finding is that millennials are really driving an overall change. There have been some recent studies that suggest that the needs and expectations of millennials are now becoming widely adopted or are similar to the evolving needs of the general population, regardless of background and age, and that issue about contribution, the issue about wanting to work and feel like what you do is making a difference.
Obviously, holidays are here. The new year is right around the corner. Are there some things that business leaders should be aware of as we get into 2016?
Yeah, I think it's important to recognize that change is not going to slow down, and that this unpredictability in certain areas is going to be a challenge. So I think business leaders need to recognize that it's not taking a disciplined approach or taking a more agile approach. It's really the challenge in terms of execution at an organizational level. It's going to be about how to balance this discipline and agility. I've got the opportunity to work with Stanford University, and Professor Ray Levitt, who's there, talks a lot about what he refers to as adaptive execution of strategy, and this notion that leaders have to continually think about, how do I create the environment that creates enough structure and rigor but allows people to have more agility and make decisions and be able to take some risks and be willing to fail at some things and bounce back, learn from those very quickly, and move on.
Finally, best resources for our listeners to learn more about what you've been talking about today?
Well, we've got some of this information about top trends and some other resources for folks. If people are interested in more information, they could go to www.StrategyX, that's strategyEX.com.